Well, hello Guardians, it is Ebontis here, and I'm in a place I usually wouldn't be for one of my videos. I'm actually standing in the raid. And the reason I'm in here is I want to try and help lead some of you to try the actual raid, find some people to raid with, look into LFG, and before you guys get mad at me for saying that, there's a reason, because these raids are some of the coolest experiences when everything comes together. They're kind of awesome. Now, they are definitely tough. They are frustrating. There are moments where you're going to have quite a few wipes, and not everybody has time for it, and I understand. But if you do find time, you make some time, if life finds it possible, they're definitely worth trying to get in here and experience. So what is the purpose of this video besides, showering praise on raids? Well, the way the Last Wish raid is set up, the first encounter is one that you can actually practice your part of completely on your own. So if you do go find a group, you have the first part of this raid and you can go into it and be like, hey, I know the Callee experience, haven't quite got to zero cheat yet. And there will be some people on LFG that be like, hey, you must be 600, have done the raid 20 times. There's also going to be people out there that say, hey, just looking for groups, may not finish it all, but just see what we can do. Now, it depends on who you look for. There's going to be some raid Sherpas. There's going to be some raid elitists. That just depends on what you come across. But my idea here is to try and show you guys that you can handle this encounter on your own and to show you how you can practice it. So when you get in with a group, you know what to do. You can hold up your end of the bargain and even be one to, help explain this encounter. Now, future encounters are harder because you're literally in the moment in the raid. But generally, this one is a good one, a good stepping stone for you to jump in and understand everything that's going on, and a nice way to see kind of what's going to be involved in a raid. So, this is the Callee Encounter. She is one of the Techians from Queen Marasov, and this is the entire room. So, there's your door up there. So, I'm going to try and explain as much as I can about the raid encounter. Go through all the breakdowns, the pieces, kind of where your team would be, what the function of each area is. And then, as it is kind of a random piece for me to actually show you a full damage phase, there is going to be a point where I kind of cut and then go forward to actually show you kind of the live version of seeing everything in action so you guys know what to look for, to experience, and what to watch. And then from there, basically, it's for you guys. You can go in, test it yourself, and then maybe potentially have a little more confidence to go look for a raid group. So, this experience has three main areas. You're going to have what I would call the rocks. Why do I say the rocks? Because it's pretty obvious. They look like moon rocks, pretty gray, whatever. It could be called gray even for all I know. But, basically, this one looks like rocks. Then, in the back, you'll notice a blue glow in the ceiling. I would call that the blue area. Whatever you guys use for callouts in your group, just make sure everybody's on the same page. Everyone understands. As you can see, you can walk around this whole area, explain everything before you actually start the encounter. And then over here, you could call this crystal, you could call it purple, but I would just call it crystal because like the whole area's got these like crystalline rock structures, kind of as your obstructions for geometry. So those are your three sections. Now, when you come into this encounter with a full team, you're going to have 6 people, and your idea is going to be split each of these areas. 3 areas, 6 people, 2 people in each. Generally, that's what you're going to want to go for. Now, it doesn't always perfectly pan out that way, and I'll explain kind of why. But the main piece to note is you're typically going to split up into thirds, and then you may need to adjust accordingly from there. But you'll notice these floating symbols everywhere. And in the Callee Encounter, they're all snakes. They're just different varieties. Now, we have most of them visible actually right here, so I'm going to point them out. So we have basically what you could call the split head snake, or the S snake. I don't even know what everybody's calling it. I'll try and find the graphic that I've seen floating out there that has the names. Maybe plaster that one up on screen as well. We have the W snake, or the U snake. You can see it's just kind of a curve, has the double bumps in it. But the idea is you want these to be quick callouts. You don't want to see, 2 snake heads facing each other with the double bump curve. You see where I'm going with that. It's just a bit too long. This one right here. So instead of saying, the snakes crossing and intertwined with heads facing away from each other, instead of that, say 8 snake, because it kind of looks like a figure 8, or at least it's pretty close. In the back out here, you guys can see what I would call the infinity snake, because it looks like an infinity symbol, and as opposed to a snake biting its own tail in 2 circles, infinity snake, much quicker. So whatever your callouts are, just agree on them and make sure you guys are on the same page. Now, in this center area, you'll see Callee floating in here. If you don't get too close, she won't do anything to you. You'll see these little, kind of pillars, hangers, whatever you want to call them, that have 2 symbols underneath each one. So you have one over here in front of the crystals, one over here in front of the blue area, and then one over here in front of the rocks. Now, the symbols themselves don't specifically correspond to the section they're in front of. Basically, the idea is the symbols that they're hanging from, like say they take the 2 W snakes. So I'm trying not to get too much in the background so you can see it. So the 2 W snakes are in front of this section of this middle area. And those 2 are important for these windows, and I'll get to later. But the main piece is you have 6 symbols, you have 6 people, and you have to clear all 6 symbols to be able to do a full damage run. Now, when you go through and practice this solo, you're only going to be able to clear 1 symbol, maybe 2 if you're good enough. So you won't be able to do a full damage sequence. I've seen people solo this encounter. It's very impressive. Takes a little bit of luck, and then also just kind of making some impressive shots and staying alive. But generally, this is going to be one where you're not going to be able to see a whole damage phase, but my point is to take you through the majority of the encounter so you understand 98% of it, and then you just rinse and repeat a lot. Now, each one of these symbols is going to be matching, potentially, back here on one of these plates. Now, each plate is going to clear one of the symbols. So, in the middle, you guys see this W1 right here and this one right here. I don't know which one, but if I stand and do the full sequence on the plate, this symbol over here, whichever one of the 2 W's, would disappear. When you get to the damage phase for Callee, as long as all 6 have been cleared, you are going to be able to keep all 6 members of your fire team alive by going into the little windows, which I'll explain the mechanic later. But the idea is, yes, each platform is going to be linked. But you'll notice in the center, I have 3 sets of symbols, and there are 4 symbols that can appear in the room. So I've got the split head snake, or S, I've got the W snake, I've got the 8 snake, but you notice in the middle area, the infinity is not one of the options. So the infinity is the one you do not want to stand on that plate. So if you notice over here, I have 2 of them. Neither of these plates are one you want to stand on. If you do and clear the whole thing, you're going to spawn an ogre, which you don't want to do. Mainly because that thing is 580, and this fight is recommended 560. So for 1, there's no reason to make it harder, and 2, not required at all. Now, I think it is part of the challenge. That is for a completely separate video. So 1 person in your fire team, whoever feels comfortable knowing the 4 symbols and knowing which one is not showing up. So if I'm looking in the middle, I see in my head, I see split head, I see W, I see infinity. I'll be like, okay, I would call out infinity snake. That is the one you're not going to stand on. Now, the one I'm standing on is kind of a bad example, mainly because typically you'll have 2 plates in each area that are going to be ones that you can stand on and 1 that you can't. So that would divide up the room evenly. But unfortunately, say over here, I've got 2 infinity snakes. So 1 person on this side of the room needs to go find another area to run on. So let's go run through and I can show you guys what that would be like. So if I'm part of if I'm part of rocks, say, and my buddy's like, hey, I got the W in rocks. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go find another one to take care of. And if you're in a section that has, say, that looks like this, we have an 8 snake, and a split head snake. All 3 of these need to be taken care of. Well, if you divide a room into thirds, there's only 2 people over here. So me from the rocks would be like, hey, who needs a third? The people at Crystal would be like, hey, we need an extra. So I'm going to come over here, and generally, if you can plan it out, especially you have more time in your first damage phase because you can talk about all this. If we were going to do it this time, I would probably take the closest one to my buddy. So if I do need to help, I might be able to see, or at least help from a little bit of range, potentially. Probably not, because you have a lot of your own stuff to focus on, but you're going to be close enough to the rocks to know, hey, if I need to go back and help, I know I will be able to. But the idea, generally, what you're going to want to see is an area that's split up evenly. So it's kind of like the blue area back here. And I say blue because you can obviously tell there are crystals, but the blue glow is pretty obvious. So here we have the split head snake, we have the W snake, and we have the infinity. So the 2 people in the blue area, 1 gets that platform, 1 gets this platform, and you're good to go. So the 2 in the blue would be even, rocks would have to adjust 1, crystals would need that extra 1 to come over and help. So that's how you would kind of divide up the team. I'm fully explaining the raid encounter, but the solo part you won't be able to see all the pieces. That's why I'm kind of showing you guys everything so you know what to expect depending on where you are. Now, the platforms themselves are kind of the important part of this encounter. They are your responsibility, and you're likely going to need to manage one on your own. A buddy of mine and I were trying to basically both hold down a platform and then move on to another one, so we were working together. But depending on how the areas are set up, you're not going to be able to do that. So you're going to want to manage these on your own. My recommendation for that is to be at least 560. The recommendation is 560, and I honestly would tell you, don't go into a raid encounter unless you were just trying to be world first, and nobody is doing that anymore. under-leveled because it just makes it harder than it needs to be. So my recommendation is be as high as you honestly can, and the higher the better. Going to give you maybe a little more survivability, maybe a little extra damage, and just make your encounter and probably run through the entire raid a bit more pleasant just in general. Now, I recommend 560. I'm about 566 just to give you guys a feel of what that's going to look like. I've got a hand cannon, just whatever you feel comfortable because you're going to have thralls coming at you. Now, the reason I also say about 560 is because you want to be able to solo melee a thrall. If you can punch one once and it dies, then you're in good shape. So I've maybe been able to do that 550, 555, but 560, I would probably try and get about there. You're going to want something in your energy slot that you're going to feel comfortable doing some damage to Callee at medium to long range. That's why sniper is actually potentially good here. But on the other turn, if you want your, more accurate, more ammo efficient weapon, say something like Whisper or Sleeper, to be down here in your heavy slot, you can absolutely do that as well. Some people are going to run like Ikelos Shotgun here. That's very powerful to take out the knight that spawns. Whatever you run, I'm just showing a sniper just so you guys can see an alternative to Ikelos because that thing is a monster. That's what you're going to need to use to kill the knight. The knight is going to be your major issue. So once you go through your full kind of 3 sequences on the plate, which I'll explain in a second, you're going to have a knight spawn in front of you. The knight will obviously spray the fire everywhere and be a big pain in your butt. So you want him to die as fast as you feasibly can, whether it's a grenade, whether it's... I probably wouldn't use your super. I would tend to want to save that. But whether it's a shotgun, whether it's a sniper, fusion, hand cannon shots if you can move. The big thing is you want that knight to die as fast as possible so it doesn't kill you and doesn't wander off and kill somebody else. And so you can make sure your symbol has been cleared and you can head on to help anyone else that needs it. But before the knight itself spawns, you actually have to manage the plate. And you'll notice there are these straight lines dividing the plate into not equal thirds, but thirds. Now, whenever you step on the plate, that's when the encounter will start, and you'll notice the flooring of 2 out of the 3 sections will have a taken effect. Those are the 2 you do not want to stand in. So the ones that look like they do right now, whatever platform or whatever section looks like it does right now, that's your safe one to stand in. So say, for example, this middle one and the left one had the taken effect and they're going to have a little blight floating there. You want to stand in this one until you see the little blight charge up and pop until that's done. The main reason you do not want to stand in the blight section because I don't know if it matters, what level you are. I think it's pretty much just going to kill you. So if you are standing in that section, when it explodes, it will kill you. So you want to make sure you're not. So make sure you're on the safe platform. You're going to have to do it 3 times, and there's going to be thrall coming at you. So say I start in the middle, and it's safe. I'm shooting thrall, the little blight charges up and pops. Then, all of a sudden, it's the middle and this right one. Well, I need to shift over to the left and still keep shooting ads. So you need to make sure you're aware of the flooring while you go through killing ads and maintaining your plate, because if you die to the blights, that's just a little too soon, and that's definitely something you can kind of manage. Now, you can step off the plate if you need to. It may take you a little longer to finish up your plate, but if it's survival versus finishing it quicker, take the survival every time. So if for some reason I'm over here, and then occasionally Callee will teleport kind of right in front of you as well. Now, when you're doing the solo, she'll come in front of you probably more frequently because you're the only one in the room. If there's 6 of you in here, you might see her once. Just shoot her. I mean, that's why I say meleeing thralls is important, because you want to be able to melee one if it's close, shoot her a few times, and just keep shooting her. She may do this thing where she casts this thing underneath you, pops you up in the air, and kind of boops you backwards. That will be okay if you fall back. If she ever pops you up in the air, just be aware of where you are. Maybe be towards the back section, so if she does blast you a little bit, you're not going to fall into a section of the plate that is unsafe. So the way the circuit goes, you'll have 3 blight charges. You'll be like, it'll go, and then they explode, and then it shifts. You'll do that 3 times. After the 3rd, the knight will spawn. Once the knight is dead, your job is to go help anyone else who needs help. So for me here, if I manage mine cleanly, but say my buddy over here needed some help, run straight across and help them. Or somebody across the map is like, hey, we had somebody wipe, got to get over there, jump on the plate. You can have somebody wipe, completely clear yours out, run over, and do that one. You have a long time to work on this process, so I say long time, it's a minute and a half. But if you do a plate cleanly, it only takes about 30 seconds. So you'll still have a decent amount of time to recover, even if somebody dies. So once all 6 of you have handled your plates, or once at least all 6 plates have been handled, all of these symbols in the middle, all these little hangers, will have been cleared. Now, what does that do? Well, when you come into a damage phase with Callee, what she is going to do is she's going to conceive her ontological weapon. That, when you see that little text in the bottom left-hand corner, means she's coming to the middle, also means you should be there. So that's kind of your timing of knowing when you need to get to the middle. Now, during that time, she's going to be firing. She's going to pop you up in the air and booping you and doing a little bit of things to annoy you. That is your main damage phase time. So it's good for somebody to have Well of Radiance. That is just a beast. If somebody wants to Melting Point her, that can be effective as well. Tether, whatever you can do to basically give as much damage to your team as possible in that time frame. It's not the longest, might be like 20 seconds. And then when she prepares to fire the weapon, you're going to see a beam over her head. And that's when, say, for example, she's in front of this section of the main circle here. She would be right about where the red dot on my cursor is, just barely above those little green windows. She would be up there. As soon as that beam appears, as long as you have cleared all the symbols for the area she's standing in front of, 6 little doors are going to open, and you all need to pick a room and hang out in there until she explodes the weapon, and then you come back out, and then you rinse and repeat for, say, this section, if she went to that next, and then finally this section over here I'm basically standing on. So you're going to have 3 different phases, and in between each, so you'll like run into the room, hang out in there. When you come back out, there's going to be scions in the middle that will probably have split a lot. So if you have any grenades that are going to be very helpful there, it's a great time for those. If you have somebody like a Stormcaller, if you really are in a pinch, maybe that. But typically grenades and a few shots with 6 people should clear them out fairly quickly. Clear them out, and then just turn and work some more damage on her again. Same thing. Make sure you can dodge, have some way to stay alive, make orbs for each person as you can. Speaking of orbs, if somebody has, Orpheus Rig and Tether, let them tether all the little scions in the middle that spawn in between each damage phase, because then when you kill them, everybody's going to have a lot of orbs and supers are frequent, so that's a nice little tidbit as well. But, you'll be in second damage phase, you'll go through here, she, gets ready to fire her weapon, jump in the doors, it fires, come back out, clear the scions, and then she'll be in front of the third section, do some damage, she gets ready to fire, jump in the windows, come back out, clear the scions. If you haven't killed her after that, you're basically going to rinse and repeat the entire room. So that's why it's good for one person, typically probably somebody over in the rocks, because, you kind of have an easy run to get where you're going and you can see a lot, to look at this area and be like, okay, and call out Infinity Snake. And just know when you hear that, that's the one you don't stand on. So that's a good way to know which one, if you're running back to, and I'm running back to the rocks and we're like, I'm back here and be like, all right, I got 2 infinities. Eric from, Ebontis from the rocks is going to head over here to crystals because you guys need some help. So that is the general rundown of how it all goes. What I'm going to do at this point is cut into whatever run works. And the reason I say that is I'm going to stand on a platform, show you guys how solo clearing it out goes. But say I clear a W snake and she goes to the 8 snake first, I can't show you what the full damage cycle looks like. So I'm going to get to one where she actually teleports in the one I'm hoping for, and you guys can see a full damage cycle. But that is the general rundown for you guys, so you know kind of what to expect with the raid. Once you guys see it in action, I feel like that's going to be more beneficial as well. So let me show you guys a full sequence of that, and then hopefully this helps you guys out in your raid encounters. So I'm going to go ahead and fade out and fade back right here, and let's see if we can get this going. Alright Guardians, so fresh run in here, so quick reminder, or maybe you've done a triple damage phase and you're trying to split up again. So on the fly, one person, whoever that designated person is, looks in the middle and says, alright, we've got W, we've got 8 snake, we've got infinity, we don't have split head snake. Split head is the one you want to avoid. So if we come over here, we have 2 infinities and a split. So one person takes this one person takes this one, we jump on and go. If for some reason, say for example, I came over here and split head was 2 of these, one person would take this and another person would run to the section who calls out and says, they need the extra person. But we're going to go ahead and take this from the middle. I will say this is the easiest to practice on, so if you are working on the practice, just wipe and do it again to where you get a proper setup. But we'll do it from here. Hopefully it goes fine. So once you jump out on the platform, you'll notice the taken flooring first and then the little blight balls. Those need to charge up, and as they do charge, you do not want to be standing in them when they pop like that. Now, Callee is likely to come right in front of you. When she does, make sure you shoot her a decent amount. Now, she will try and boop you in the air, maybe blast you a little bit, but if you hit her some, she will leave you alone and probably go bug somebody else. Now, if you're solo and she comes here a lot, she may do it more frequently. Make sure you're also shifting platforms. So if the safe spot is over here on the left, make sure you're on the left before those things explode. That's important. Now, once you have 3 cycles done, you're going to have the knight spawn in. So make sure you find the knight as quick as you can. Now she may even come back. So at this point, put some more damage into her so she leaves. Finish up your last couple of thralls. The floor is now safe, which is important. And then at this point, your job is to help anybody else who needs help. Say somebody up here above you on this one died, and they need some help with this platform. Well, go res them and get their platform going, because you can still res somebody and get a whole second circuit going. So you wait for this thing to charge, and they've probably got one, maybe died, whatever it is. So help them out if they need it. Once all 6 of your platforms are done, head to the middle, and we're going to wait for her to say that she is charging her ontological weapon. So you can just kind of hang out here. La-ti-da. Now, I have one of the infinities down, so that's kind of the idea that I'm hoping she teleports in front of me, so I can show you guys how that works. If all 6 symbols are done, all of them are going to work the same way. But if not, just know, here she is. Okay, so she's going to teleport in front. This is a good time to use something like a Well of Radiance. She'll typically, kick you up in the air and then boop you, and then she's going to be firing at you. Pretty good amount, so it's a good time to make sure you got, the Well of Radiance is good, but if you shoot her a lot, she will typically also stagger. Now, she also hurts if she hits you. Once she gets the white bar going, she is going to, you'll see the doors have opened. So, you want to run in here. Make sure you got stuff reloaded. And when you come back out, you're going to have a lot of scions. Kill those quick. You can even stay in your little hole until they're all dead. And then come back out, and this is time to do your damage phase. So this is your point, depending on what she's doing. And if you have a lot of damage going on here, you'll keep her pretty staggered. But at this point, as I haven't cleared one of the platforms, or one of the symbols that she's in front of, unfortunately, I don't have a door to run into. So again, she will do your timing, she'll summon the weapon, and then when you see the black, you better be in one of the doors, because she's going to kill you in about 5 seconds. And dead. There it is. So give me a second, and I'll get back in and give you guys a final few tips. Alright, Guardians, so that does pretty much wrap up the encounter for you. So hopefully this helps you, gives you a little encouragement to go try the raid. And do this first. Practice this whole circuit. Make sure you're comfortable, so when you go look for a raid group, be like, hey, I know the Callee Encounter. After that, I'm going to need some help. But I definitely want to experience the raid. Try and find a decent group. They are out there. I promise they exist. A couple pointers as well. You saw the scions that appear in the middle between damage phases. If you have a hunter that has Orpheus Rig who can tether those every time, you're going to have a whole lot of orbs and a whole lot of supers that is going to help your team do more damage. That's a nice piece as well. If you have Empowering Rifts, Well of Radiance, Melting Point, all of those are great things to do damage. If you have things like solar grenades and people in your team are trying to use Whisper of the Worm, it's really hard to even see her head. So be careful what grenades you throw. Save those for killing ads and other things, and just try and do damage with your sleepers with Whispers. Those are extremely powerful. Melting Point, tag, and stuff like that. So there are obvious weapons that are going to be very, very good for damage. Sleeper and Whisper, of course, are crazy. Whisper's a little harder because her head moves a lot when people are tagging her frequently. But on the other side, Sleeper can be a bit more forgiving, so if you want to go with that, that may help as well. But I hope this encourages many of you to go check this out. Maybe just practice it solo. There are people who have done this entire encounter solo. They are among the elite, so I wouldn't completely recommend that, but maybe that's a crazy challenge for some of you. But if this does encourage you to get into a raid, check it out, or just gives you a way to practice and feel more confident to go look for people, I hope that that was accomplished. So if you did enjoy the video, drop a like below. Leave a comment if you got any questions. Other than that, thank you guys. You can follow me on Twitch or Twitter, and right here on YouTube. The support has been amazing. Thank you very, very much. Keep the support going. Hit that subscribe button, and I will keep the videos coming to you. So thank you very much, and I will see you guys in a future video. The support has been awesome. Have an awesome day, weekend, evening, whenever you're watching this. I'll see you soon.